All right, hello YouTube. Welcome back to another episode of Torture Tuesdays, where I intentionally take myself to see movies that I know are garbage and I rip them apart here on the channel. Today's review. Yes, I know I'm a day late. I tried to do this yesterday, or I tried to do this last night. My camera wasn't having any of it, so I decided to wait until today to do it. So last night I went and saw Captain America Brave New World. And wow. Um, I don't know where to start with this. I really don't. Um, um, okay. Well, if you watched my videos um, that I did, before the movie came out, that this is a movie that I was not at all excited for. I knew that it wasn't, uh, if you watched, my videos that I did, that, I was not excited for this movie. This is not a movie that I was looking forward to. This is not a movie that, um, that this is not a movie that got a lot of hype, that got um that the marketing for this movie is some of the worst that I've ever seen um for a movie. But yeah, let me get into this review before I get ahead of myself. And and I have to warn you, this is probably going to be red band. Um, I'm probably going to be screaming throughout this review and dropping a fair amount of f bombs. So a word of warning. So just a word of warning. This movie very much has the feeling that they reshot it four times. It's just you could totally tell that they reshot this movie four times. Um that is how much of a mess this movie is. Um so um the movie opens with a shot in Japan, I think. I A shot in Japan, I think, and they find a rare metal called adamantium, which I will be getting into a little bit later. Which I will be talking about a little bit later in the review, and why that doesn't, and why having something like that, in a movie like this doesn't make any sense. Um, so they apparently have, the United States has a peace treaty with Japan. Um, General Thunderbolt Ross, played by Harrison Ford, um, has become president of the United States. Um, and he comes to Sam Wilson, obviously, who's now Captain America, um, and says, I want another shot. He says to him, I want to bring, I want to reassemble the Avengers. I want to bring back the Avengers. And General Ross in this movie, who usually in the past, if you watch, movies like The Incredible Hulk, if you watched, um, I think he had a cameo in Civil War. Um, and if you're, of course, if you're familiar with, the comics, General Ross is very much like Marvel's Lex Luthor. Um, just a power hungry, just a power hungry, just a power hungry, corrupt, douchebag, basically. And um, in this movie, he's not really painted as that at all. Um, he's not really painted as that at all. This movie, he is. I mean, he's not necessarily a bad guy in this movie, and that's one of the issues that I had with this movie, and the fact Harrison Ford felt like a huge, huge, huge miscast. Uh, for this movie, um, he did not, um, he did not feel, um, it did not. I he Harrison Ford, it's just, my issue was, I'm so used to Harrison Ford playing the good guy, you know, uh, movies like, obviously, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, The Fugitive, Air Force One, um, you know, um, what else? Movies, movies like that. He always plays the good guy. And in casting him in a role like this just proves that he's not capable of playing a bad guy. He's not. It's not in his character. It's not in Harrison Ford's, character and personality, to play a bad guy. He he just can't do it. Um, so that was one of the that was one of the many issues I had with this movie. Um, the eh, the other thing I had, or one of the other issues I had with this movie, and I mean, Sam Wilson picking up the shield was something that they obviously set up, at the end of Avengers Endgame, but and I know that's something that they set up, at the end of Avengers Endgame, but it's like, you don't fucking, you don't fucking, put on the costume, pick up the shield and call yourself Captain America. It doesn't work like that. Steve Rogers, Captain America, you know, was created, back in the 40s, of World War II, when people really, obviously, during, Captain America's creation, World War II was actually going on in real life. Captain America was created during a time when people really, really needed something to believe in. They really, really needed a hero. That they really, really needed something to aspire to. And Captain America, and creating, uh, a superhero, and creating, a superhero, during the time of World War II, during the time when, when the Nazis were invading, um, during, the Nazi invasion, it gave people hope. It gave people something, uh, to kind of, like, take their mind off things, to give, um, to give people, a symbol of hope in a time of need. And that is one of the things that is so special about Captain America. Um, that is one of the things that makes, it's a very, 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 very important part of Captain America's creation. Um, and, 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 and with this movie does not have any of that. Captain America, Steve Rogers is obviously he's considered, the world's greatest human fighter ever known. Captain America does not have any superpowers. I mean, yes, he has the super soldier serum, but he is not, he does not have any superpowers. And, um, so, and the fact that, and, and the fact that they did this, the fact that, and, the fact that they did this just really fucking pisses me off. And I mean, I know that it happened in in the comics, but this run, but that run, the Sam Wilson Captain America run did not sell at all. Nobody enjoyed that run. And and I think I said this in one of my previous videos, in one of my previous, Captain America related videos that I did. When they killed off Captain America, I think it was like 2006. When they did that, when they did that run and they had Bucky, pick up the shield, that was, fans, fans loved that run mainly because Ed Brubaker, mainly because, Ed Brubaker is just such a phenomenal, it's just such a phenomenal writer. I mean, he's won so many awards. Uh, he's won so many awards. He won, the Eisner Award, that year, for Best Writer. And Ed Brubaker is probably considered the best Captain America writer who ever lived. So when it was time for Sam Wilson to pick up the shield, everybody was pretty much like, why? It's like, why? This was done already. And fans don't like Sam Wilson as Captain America. They like him as the Falcon because that's who he is. He's not Captain America. He doesn't. Sam Wilson doesn't. Sam Wilson isn't a strong enough, supporting character to hold his own title. He's not a strong enough supporting character to hold, he isn't a strong enough supporting character to be able to hold his own movie. He's not. He's not a popular enough, he's not important. He's not an important enough, character to be able to hold his own movie. And but yeah, no, General Ross in this movie, we find out that he in this movie we find out that he's actually dying. We find out that he's actually dying, and he is taking he's taking these pills. He has been taking these pills which have been keeping him alive, which, yes, have been keeping him alive, but also they are emitting levels of gamma radiation. And yes, and yes, the leader is, Dr. Samuel Stearns. The leader is the main villain in this movie, and oh my god, and he looks like dog shit. He looks like total fucking dog shit. Literally nothing like his comic book design. And if you remember, 17 years ago during, when The Incredible Hulk came out. That was something that they originally set up in that movie. And, they set him up to become, the leader, when his head started to bubble, when Bruce Banner's blood, when a drop, of Bruce Banner's blood, fell on top of his head, and his head started to bubble. Um, this movie was a fucking mess. This movie was a fucking mess. All right, I'm all right. I needed a minute. I apologize. Um, but yeah, no, this movie was just you could just, you could totally tell that they reshot this thing 4 times because this movie had plot holes up the ass. Literally, just, nothing about this movie made sense. And remember, Captain America is the world's greatest human fighter ever known. In this movie, he's literally, Sam Wilson is getting his ass handed to him in like every scene. Literally, like every single scene that he's in, he's getting his ass handed to him. And yes, and yes, Captain America, Steve Rogers obviously struggled against, villains obviously like Thanos, but it's like, of course he's trying to, but it's like, of course he's going to struggle against him. It's fucking Thanos. I'm, it's fucking Thanos, of course he's going to struggle against him. And I just, nothing about this movie made sense. Everything about, just, literally everything about this movie was a giant fucking shit show. Um, you know, and you could totally tell that they reshot this thing 4 times. You could totally tell. And I think the final round of reshoots, literally took place like 2 months, before the movie's release. And, you could totally tell. The action sequences in the movie were literally about as bland and generic as they come. And you also have a little bit of a Winter Soldier recap in there because of the fucking political bullshit that they throw in this movie. And Red Hulk in this movie shows up at the end of the movie literally for 4 fucking minutes. That is the entirety of the time, that you see him. Harrison Ford is making, his presidential, address, and, is making, his presidential address, and then, the leader, takes control of his mind. He's got, he's got his, mind control that he uses, throughout, the entire movie. He uses, to control people, and all that bullshit. He uses it, and he uses it. He's able to somehow, by some fucking miracle, he's able to control people. He's able to use mind control through their fucking cell phones. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. Somehow he's able, it's like, it's like their phone flashes, and then somehow he's able to use, like mind control or whatever bullshit through that. And, um, and somehow they get, mind controlled or what, whatever. But yeah, no, the stuff that you see, or the stuff that you saw of Red Hulk in the trailer, that is literally the entirety um of his of his screen time. And I think it really, and I think, and like them doing, like Marvel and Disney showing that in the trailer, I think really shows you just how much Marvel and Disney give a shit about their movies these days. Because um I don't remember a single time when Marvel and Disney showed I don't remember a single time where Marvel showed the ending to one of their movies in a fucking trailer. That, that they dropped, like all of the early Marvel phase 1 movies, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, none of those trailers spoiled the ending. Um, for any of their movies. In fact, for Avengers Endgame, I think they used a lot of fake footage. Um, for their trailers, because they obviously didn't want to spoil anything, and they knew, and they obviously knew the hype. They obviously knew, the level of hype that that especially Endgame had. But here it's like, they weren't even trying. They literally spoiled the end of the movie uh in um in this trailer. And the fact that Harrison Ford is, like 80 fucking something years old and he's still doing movies is fucking ridiculous. I'm I mean, it's like, for fuck's sake. I mean, it's like, I sorry guys, I can't even talk today. I'm so fucking pissed off. You know what? I need another minute. Oh, okay. I'm all right. I'm all right. All right. Um, but yeah, I mean, just, all the greats knew when it was time to retire. Jack Nicholson, Sean Connery, um, who else? Jack Nicholson, Sean Connery, and a bunch of other actors that for whatever reason I can't think of their names of. It's like, all those legends knew when it was time to retire. And Harrison Ford, for whatever reason, just still hasn't gotten the message. Um, but yeah, no, this movie, it was such a fucking mess. It was such a shit show. It was literally every bit as bad as I knew it was going to be. Um, you of course still have, some, attempted humor in there. Humor that obviously, completely falls flat. And just, doesn't work at all. But you also have some cameo porn in there. You have fucking, Liv Tyler, who shows up at the end of the movie, as Betty Ross for no reason at all. You have Sebastian Stan show up in one scene for no reason at all. um I mean, just, you can really, this movie very much has the feeling, um you just, you can totally tell that they reshot this 4 times, because this movie is so creatively bankrupt and it's such a mess. Um, and it's, it's like, it's like even a blind person, I think, could even detect, would be able to even, would even be able to detect, the level of plot holes in this movie. Because literally nothing about this movie made sense. And plus, what the fuck is Adamantium doing in a movie called fucking Captain America? I mean, and for those of you who don't know what adamantium is the stuff that Wolverine's claws are made out of. Adamantium is the metal that um, adamantium is the metal that covers, Wolverine's entire skeleton. So, so what the fuck is it doing in a fucking Captain America movie? I mean, I mean, I mean, please, somebody please explain to me how the fuck that makes any sense. Because it doesn't. It makes no fucking sense at all. Nothing Marvel does anymore makes any fucking sense. Because Marvel has no plan. They have no, they have no plan. And, from what I understand, the I think it was either the filming date or the release date for Avengers Doomsday got pushed back because the script isn't finished. And let me remind you guys, Avengers Doomsday is coming out next year. Um, and I think, but like all the bullshit in this movie, I think it really, really proves, or it should prove to you, and it should show, just what a complete fucking moron Kevin Feige is. And it shows you that, that it just, it shows you that, that all the success, uh, all the level of success, that Marvel had, over the past 10 years, um, over the past 2 year, or, over the past 10 years, and then the two, very rare successes, um, that they had with, Spider-Man No Way Home and Deadpool and Wolverine had nothing to do with Feige. This moron has proved himself, as someone who just, who built his career, uh, who built his career around people who are just a hell of a lot more, creative and talented than he is. That is literally the only reason why this fucking moron has a career. And, and then he just, and with each success, and with each success that they had, and with each, level of success that they had, the fucking moron developed an ego over it, think obviously thinking, oh yeah, obviously thinking, oh yeah, yeah, no, I see, I can do this. And, you know, ju- like, let me remind people, I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous video or not, but he originally told Hugh Jackman not to return as Wolverine. Let me repeat that. He told Hugh Jackman not to return as Wolverine. Now, he told Hugh Jackman not to return as Wolverine when he knew, when this fucking moron knew how much trouble, this franchise with it, was in. The MCU has been a sinking Titanic now for the past 5 years. Marvel, other than the exception of Spider-Man No Way Home, um, Marvel Phase 4 was a fucking shit show. You know, I, you know, I, um, you know, I, And for the most part, I have completely been um for the most part, I have been completely ignoring for the most part, Marvel is fucking dead to me. Like whenever I um for the most part, Marvel is fucking dead to me. Like for Marvel Phase 4, I didn't bother with fucking, Multiverse of Madness. I didn't see fucking, Wakanda Forever. Um I didn't see Guardians 3. Unfortunately, I was forced to go see fucking Thor Love and Thunder, uh which was which was literally one of the biggest piles of horse shit I've ever seen in my life. Um that's that's like that's like I don't know, like an hour and a half, 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. Um I didn't see um I haven't watched, like any of the fucking, like Disney Plus shows or anything like that. Shang-Chi was fine for what it was. Uh it wasn't anything, exceptional. It was fine. Um but Deadpool and Wolverine only made the money that it did and have the success that it had because, again, Ryan Reynolds fought like hell to get complete creative control over the movie. That was, that was nothing that fucking Feige did. That was all Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. So, and from what I understand, they didn't even want Blade in the movie. They put him in there because Ryan Reynolds wanted him in there. So, and given everything and given, the huge fucking fiasco that's the Blade reboot, I honestly don't think that that's ever going to get made, despite fucking Feige obviously claiming, oh yeah, it's still happening. Meanwhile, Mahershala Ali is fucking 50. He'll be in a fucking walker by the time Marvel and Disney are ready to make it. I mean, I mean, just I'm fucking tired of this shit. Yeah, and I this movie and the runtime for this movie is literally, I want to say maybe it's like an hour and a half, like hour and 45 minutes. 2 hours is uh 2 hours is including credits. The movie itself is only like an hour and 35, hour and 45 minutes. That's not a very long movie at all. This is the shortest of this movie has the shortest runtime of any Captain America movie. And you have fucking plot hole after plot hole after plot hole in a story that literally makes no fucking sense. Sticking Red Hulk in this movie literally made about sticking Red Hulk in this movie literally makes about as much sense as as fucking Sony uh deciding to throw in Rhino at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. There was no point of it at all. And in this movie, like it has no heart. It has no, like there's no stakes to it. Um there's no emotional, like depth or anything. There's no emotional, like depth or weight to it. But at the same time, it's like, of course of course there isn't, because they reshot the thing 4 fucking times. I mean, I, it blows my mind that and Anthony Mackie is completely delusional. Like um I remember hearing that you know, I remember, specifically reading online that uh, he was trying to act, like everything was completely normal, like a movie, like a movie getting, fucking, 4 or 5, a movie getting, fucking, 4 rounds of reshoots, was completely normal. It's like, yeah, right. You're just trying to cope with, you're just trying to cope, with the fucking disaster your movie is. Um, but yeah, no. And then he started, and then and just the comments that he started coming out with about Captain America like not being American, or whatever the fuck that bullshit was. I mean, just fucking ridiculous. I mean, but yeah, no, everything. And usually 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 in these types of movies, and like I know I've been, and like for example, like Superman, uh switching to DC for a minute, like despite like all of the hate that I've been putting on Superman, I can, like I can find something to like about that movie, like David Cornsweet, I genuinely think would make an awesome Superman. It's just the fact that James Gunn is doing it. It's just the fact, that James Gunn, is the writer director that I have that I have an issue with. I think David Cornsweet, under, like anybody else would make a genuinely good Superman. Millie Alcock, who is set to play Supergirl in the Supergirl movie, I think would make a genuinely good Supergirl. Again, it's the fact that James Gunn, it's the fact that James Gunn is in charge that I think, that I have issue with. So you get what I'm saying? Like, even though, like, even, like there are, like rare circumstances where I can pick through, a pile of shit and still find something to like about it. With Captain America Brave New World, I couldn't find anything to appreciate and or like about it. That is how bad this movie is. I that is how bad this movie is. There is nothing to like about this movie. The plot is a fucking mess. The pacing is a fucking mess. The story is a fucking mess. The action sequences are a fucking mess. Everything about this movie is a fucking mess. This movie, you can totally tell that they had no fucking clue what they were doing. With this movie, and they kept piddling with it because the test screenings were so bad. And and I just, and yeah, and and it just, it completely blows my mind that that they allowed this to be released in the state that it was. I mean, just, and like I know that, again, I know that they set this up at the end of Avengers Endgame, but it's like, what makes Marvel and Disney think that if something didn't work in the comic books, what makes them think that they could make it work in the movies? Like, if something doesn't work, it doesn't work. There's nothing you can do to fix it. I mean, it just, seriously, I don't get it. I don't. I don't get it. If something doesn't work, it doesn't work, and there's nothing, that you can do to fix it. But yeah, and they spent, and I know I mentioned this in one of my videos, they spent 350 million on this piece of shit. You know, they kept, again, they kept reshooting it because the test screenings were so bad. You're talking about, a bigger budget than Endgame because of all the reshoots that they did. Marvel and Disney are in for one hell of a shit show after this, because they are going to lose a shit ton of money on this thing. The money that they're going to lose on this thing is ridiculous. But yeah, no, and even the dialogue is cringeworthy. Like there's a scene in the trailer where and it's obviously in the movie where Harrison Ford goes, he's talking to, Sam Wilson, and he goes, you might be Captain America, but you're not Steve Rogers. It's like, yep, we got that. Thank you, Captain Obvious. We got that. We don't need you to point that out. I mean, and it's like, and if you're not Steve Rogers, then why the fuck are you in the costume? I mean, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, as my grandmother would say. Oh my God. Again, it's like, you don't just throw the costume on, pick up the shield, and call yourself Captain America. I mean, oh. But anyway, just, do yourself a favor. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. And don't waste your time and don't waste your money. Just don't. Just don't. You'll be doing yourself a huge favor, and you'll be saving yourself a great deal of you'll be saving yourself a great deal of sanity. I sacrifice, I sacrifice, a huge part of, what relatively, I sacrifice a huge part of, of my sanity, what little there is left, every time I go to see one of these pieces of shit. But yeah, no, don't waste your time, don't waste your money. And just don't. There's no reason at all why this movie there's no reason at all for for movies like this to get made. It's like, I don't care that it's something that they set up at the end of Endgame. That was one of the main issues that I had with Avengers Endgame. It's like, it's like the ending is really what carried that movie. That final act is what made that movie. The final act is the final act is what made that movie. But yeah, no, just don't. Just don't waste your money, don't waste your time. And hopefully I have said enough to convince you not to go see it. Anyway, yeah, so let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you saw it and what you thought of it. Like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.